Welcome to this deep dive. If you ever take a stroll through a major art museum,
Oh, I love doing that.
right, it's the best. And say you find yourself wandering into the wing with all those massive, ornate 17th century royal portraits.
The really heavy, dramatic ones with the dark backgrounds.
Exactly. The monarchs, the heavy velvet drapes, the lace collars, the crowns. But there is a distinct visual pattern you absolutely cannot miss.
Oh, I know exactly what you're going to say.
Yeah, almost without fail, curled up, somewhere in the frame, maybe on a lap, maybe at their feet, is a small, silky, floppy-eared spaniel.
Always. It's like a staple of the era.
Right. Looking at those paintings, it's like the dogs were the ultimate royal accessory.
Just another piece of the wealth, basically.
Exactly. So, okay, let's unpack this. Were these dogs just decorative?
Right.
Like, just another status symbol meant to match the expensive upholstery? Or is there a deeper secret hidden in those oil paintings that completely defines this breed's modern identity?
That is the big question.
Today, we are pulling from a fascinating, highly specialized veterinary and dog health audio series all about the Cavalier King Charles Spaniel.
It's a really fantastic set of sources.
It really is. And our mission in this deep dive is to look way past that superficial, fancy, royal dog stereotype and uncover the incredibly complex, deeply dependent creature underneath.
Because there's so much underneath.
So much. We're giving you the ultimate reality check on what owning this breed truly entails.
And honestly, the museum painting imagery is a brilliant place to start.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah, absolutely. Because those 17th century portraits are not just artistic choices made by painters who like dogs.
Wait, they aren't?
No, not at all.
Ah.
What's fascinating here is that those images serve as literal historical blueprints for this dog's core biological purpose.
Blueprint is a strong word. Like, they were engineered for that.
Exactly. When we think of the origins of most dog breeds, we think of a specific job or, utility.
Right, like a working dog.
Yeah. We picture guarding massive estates, herding flocks of sheep through harsh weather, or, retrieving game from freezing lakes.
Yeah, getting dirty.
Right. But the Cavalier King Charles Spaniel was not bred to do a single one of those things.
Shocker.
I mean, truly, over centuries, their sole engineered purpose was human connection.
Wow.
The aristocracy quite literally designed them to be kept in the laps and on the beds of English nobility.
Which is wild to think about when you consider the sheer variety of dogs out there.
It really is.
Like, you have all these breeds built for rugged physical labor, dogs with muscles designed for endurance.
The athletes of the dog world.
Right. And then you have a dog whose entire evolutionary tree was pruned just so they could be really, really good at sitting with you.
That is exactly what happened.
It fundamentally connects the dots to their modern behavior. I mean, history isn't just trivia you bring up at parties.
No, not in this case.
It's the actual living explanation for what happens in your living room today. And when I was going through our sources, the literal origin of the name really jumped out at me.
Oh, King Charles.
Yeah, we were talking about King Charles II of England, right?
Yes. The breed owes its name and its intense historical focus directly to his reign.
He was a big fan, I take it.
Oh, his devotion to these small spaniels in the 1600s was so legendary that it actually shaped their genetic future.
Wait, really? How so?
Well, the historical records show he mandated that they be allowed absolutely everywhere.
Everywhere. Like no off-limits rooms?
None. We're talking about tiny dogs walking freely into high-level government council meetings.
No way.
Yeah, wandering those restricted palace hallways and sleeping in the royal bedchambers.
I just love the mental image of a tiny, silky spaniel interrupting a 17th century geopolitical government meeting just to get a belly rub.
Right. But the king simply wanted them near him at all times, and the breeding practices of the era adapted to meet that specific royal demand.
So they basically bred a dog for a king who couldn't stand to be alone.
Exactly. They aggressively targeted a dog that was gentle, sociable, and relentlessly affectionate.
But that aristocratic breeding focus you mentioned, the idea that they selected for affection, means they must have actively bred out other common dog traits, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Like independence or aloofness or the desire to just go wander off in the woods alone.
All of that was basically erased.
There is this brilliant phrase from our source material that I just haven't been able to stop thinking about.
Which one?
It notes that modern owners expect a dog, but what they actually get is a shadow with a heartbeat.
Yes. That is such a perfect description.
It's like they were programmed with exactly one application, and that app is just called Be Near You.
That analogy of a single hardwired application perfectly captures their psychology.
It really makes it click for me.
Right, because when a modern owner gets frustrated and asks, why is my Cavalier constantly following me from room to room?
Yeah, or like, why are they just sitting there staring at me from the hallway while I fold laundry?
Exactly. They often mistake that for a behavioral flaw.
Oh, interesting. They think something is wrong with the dog.
Right. They think it is separation anxiety in the traditional clinical sense or some weird neurosis.
But it's not.
No, not at all. That behavior is simply centuries of selective breeding operating exactly as designed.
The dog is doing its job.
The dog is executing its primary engineered function being within an inch of its human.
So if you're wondering why you haven't been to the bathroom alone in 5 years, it's literally because a 17th century king demanded it.
Pretty much.
But because they are so deeply hardwired for constant human connection, how does that proximity programming actually translate to living with them in the real world today?
It creates a really interesting dynamic.
Because here's where it gets really interesting. I think a lot of people make a massive leap in logic here.
How so?
Well, you hear a phrase like easygoing personality or affectionate, and you automatically translate that to easy dog.
Ah, yes. The classic trap.
Right. I want to push back on that assumption. Does a small, gentle, eager-to-please dog actually equate to a small amount of work?
This raises such an important question, and it sits at the absolute center of the Cavalier paradox.
The Cavalier paradox, I like that.
You have to firmly separate the concept of temperament from the reality of lifestyle.
Well, write that down for me.
Temperament-wise, they are incredibly forgiving. They are highly intelligent, they're eager to engage, and they don't have that stubborn, independent streak that makes some breeds so tough to handle.
So they want to do what you want to do.
Exactly. But their lifestyle demands are immense.
Right, because if your entire biological purpose is to be near a person, the absence of a person isn't just inconvenient, it's a system failure.
That is the perfect way to look at it.
Yeah.
Let's look at how that sensitivity impacts basic training first.
Okay, yeah.
Because they are so hyper-attuned to their people and so eager to please, they are beautifully responsive to positive reinforcement.
So lots of treats and good boys.
A little bit of praise goes a very long way, but that exact same emotional sensitivity means they will completely shut down if you use harsh training correction.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Or even just show a lot of visible frustration. They don't have that tough, thick-skinned, independent exterior that many working breeds rely on.
So if you are coming from a background of raising, say, a tough, independent working dog, like a dog that needs firm, rigid boundaries, your whole approach has to shift.
It has to completely change.
You can't just bark stern orders at a shadow with a heartbeat and expect it to bounce back.
No, the whole communication style has to be built on encouragement, not pressure.
Makes sense.
But the much larger lifestyle hurdle, beyond just training tone, is time.
Right. The time commitment.
Leaving a Cavalier alone for 8 or 9 hours a day on a regular basis is not just going to result in a bored dog finding ways to entertain itself.
They aren't just going to sleep on the couch all day.
No, they will genuinely struggle emotionally.
That phrase from the sources, genuine emotional struggle, is such a heavy realization.
It's very serious.
We are not talking about a dog that's just going to chew up your expensive slippers out of spite because it's bored. We're talking about a deep psychological toll.
The mechanism behind that struggle is really important to understand.
Okay, let's hear it.
They just don't have the natural coping mechanisms for isolation that a more independent breed might have.
They just weren't built for it.
Right. Our sources make a crucial distinction here. Small size does not mean small emotional needs.
I think a lot of people miss that.
First-time owners often fall into one of two major traps with this breed.
Okay, what's trap number one?
The first trap is overprotecting the dog.
Oh, like babying them.
Exactly. Because the Cavalier is so small and affectionate, the owner constantly coddles them. They take them absolutely everywhere. They never leave the house without them.
So they're always in a purse or a stroller.
Yeah. And as a result, the dog never builds even a baseline tolerance for being alone.
You essentially validate their dependency until they have zero independence whatsoever.
Spot on.
And I'm guessing the second trap is the exact opposite end of the spectrum.
You guessed it. The second trap is the assumption of magical adaptation.
Magical adaptation.
The owner brings the dog into their home and assumes the dog will just figure out how to be alone because, well, it's a dog.
Right, like dogs hang out at home while we work. That's just what dogs do.
Exactly. They go to an office for 9 hours, leave the dog in an empty house, and expect it to just sleep the day away.
And that's a disaster.
It is. Most adult Cavaliers can handle a normal, modern workday reasonably well, but only if they are properly and gradually conditioned to it over time.
So it takes training.
A lot of it. And even then, it usually requires a midday break from a dog walker or a neighbor coming by.
Just to break up that isolation.
Right. You simply cannot skip that foundational groundwork of teaching them how to exist independently.
That makes total sense. You can't just flip a switch on an animal that has been genetically molded for centuries to be a lap warmer and say, okay, enjoy the empty apartment for 9 hours. Good luck out there.
It's just not fair to the dog.
No, it isn't. So since we know this dog essentially needs to be a constant physical presence in your daily routine, how does that mesh with a normal household?
It depends on the household.
Because my immediate thought when we talk about a dog needing to be involved in everything is that they must have a ton of energy.
Ah, I see where you're going.
Every small dog I've ever known, like terriers, for example, seems to have this endless vibrating energy that can just tear an apartment apart. How do they breed that out?
Well, the difference between a terrier and a spaniel in this context is night and day.
Okay, how so?
Terriers were bred to hunt, to dig, to relentlessly pursue vermin.
Right, the rat catchers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That requires high explosive energy. Cavaliers, as we discussed, were bred to sit.
Just sit.
Just sit. Consequently, their exercise needs are beautifully moderate.
Oh, that's a relief.
They are not a high-drive working breed that needs 2 hours of intense, exhausting, off-leash running to finally settle down in the evening.
So no triathlons required.
Nope. A couple of moderate, sniff-heavy daily walks and some interactive playtime in the living room is generally enough to keep them physically satisfied.
Which makes them sound pretty fantastic for apartment living, honestly.
Oh, they adapt perfectly to apartments.
Really?
Yeah. For a Cavalier, square footage matters far less than proximity to their people.
That goes right back to the proximity thing.
Right. You could place a Cavalier in a massive, sprawling mansion, but if they're isolated in one wing of it away from the family, they will be miserable.
But a tiny studio.
Conversely, you could have a tiny studio apartment, and as long as they are sitting directly next to you on the sofa, they are completely content.
It all comes back to that Be Near You app.
It always does.
So space isn't an issue. But what about the rest of the household dynamic, like kids and other pets?
That's a great question.
I feel like the automatic assumption with a sweet, small, docile dog is that they are the absolute perfect companion for toddlers.
They are notoriously gentle and incredibly patient, which makes them wonderful family dogs, in theory. Well, let's talk about the positives first. They lack the intense territorial aggression or the high prey drive that you might find in other breeds.
So they won't chase the cat.
Exactly. This means they are generally very safe and easygoing around cats and other dogs. They do beautifully in multi-pet households because their highly sociable nature extends beyond just humans.
They just want friends.
Right. However, there is a major caveat when it comes to young children, and it has to do with that exact docility.
Because they won't defend themselves.
That is the core issue.
Wow.
Because they lack a strong prey drive or defensive aggression, a Cavalier won't typically snap back, growl, or firmly defend its boundaries if a toddler pulls its ears or plays too roughly.
They just take it.
Yeah. Their sheer docility actually makes them much more vulnerable to injury from rough handling.
So it's not the kid you have to worry about.
No, supervision is absolutely mandatory, not because the dog is a danger to the child, but because the child is a potential danger to the dog.
That is such a huge perspective shift.
The training in that scenario is just as much about teaching the children appropriate, gentle interaction as it is about managing the dog.
You essentially have to protect the dog from the kids, not the other way around.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got a clear picture of their moderate energy and their family dynamics. Let's talk about the physical footprint of the dog itself.
Oh, the grooming.
Yeah, because this dog is going to spend 90% of its life physically pressed up against you on your couch, you're going to become intimately familiar with their coat.
Very familiar.
I've seen the word feathering used repeatedly in our sources, and I need to know the reality of maintaining that royal look.
It takes work.
Wait, I'm looking at pictures of this long, silky coat and this feathering, and my immediate thought is that my apartment is going to be covered in hair. Am I going to need a heavy-duty vacuum for this?
You will definitely need a good vacuum.
I knew it!
They are moderate seasonal shedders, so Managing loose hair around your home is part of the reality. But let's define feathering.
Yeah, what exactly is that?
It refers to the long, beautiful, wispy fringe of hair that you see hanging off their ears, decorating their chest, and sweeping down the backs of their legs.
It's very elegant.
It is the signature part of their classic aesthetic. But that aesthetic requires consistent manual labor.
Like how much labor?
Well, if you neglect that silky coat, the feathering will quickly tangle, pick up debris from walks, and result in severe, painful matting close to the skin.
Ouch.
Yeah. You are looking at a commitment to thorough brushing at least a few times a week, just to maintain a baseline.
And I imagine the grooming goes beyond just the coat, especially with those massive ears framing their face.
The ears are a specific architectural challenge.
Architectural challenge. I like that phrasing.
Those iconic low-hanging ears that give them that sweet expression also act as heavy flaps that completely restrict airflow to the ear canal.
Oh, so they trap moisture.
They trap moisture, dirt, and debris in a dark, warm environment.
A recipe for an infection.
Exactly. Owners have to perform proactive, periodic ear checks and cleanings to ensure basic hygiene and prevent chronic ear infections.
That sounds intense.
It is not overly complicated to do, but it is a non-negotiable routine demand.
It's just one more layer of attentiveness required. You are managing their coat, their ears, their emotional state.
That's a lot of management.
What about their vocal footprint? If I have this highly dependent dog in an apartment with shared walls, is it going to be a nuisance to my neighbors?
Surprisingly, no. They are not known to be an excessively vocal or barky breed, especially when you compare them to many other small companion breeds that sound the alarm at every falling leaf.
Oh, that's nice.
Inherently, they are relatively quiet.
But there's a but.
There is. That being said, if a Cavalier is highly anxious, perhaps from being left alone too long without that gradual conditioning we discussed, they can develop distress vocalizations.
Right, the emotional struggle we talked about.
Exactly. But a well-adjusted, accompanied Cavalier is generally a quiet neighbor.
Okay, so we are painting a very specific picture here. You are signing up for regular ear architecture management, constantly brushing out the feathering, and providing a massive amount of ongoing emotional support.
Yes, that is the baseline.
But there's another major factor the sources brought up, and it feels like the elephant in the room.
The health profile.
Yes. Because of that very specific, isolated 17th century royal breeding pool we started this deep dive with, there is a significant biological cost to the dog, isn't there?
There absolutely is, and it is crucial for any potential owner to understand.
Let's get into it.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the way the Cavalier King Charles Spaniel population was developed is a textbook example of a genetic bottleneck.
So wait, when you say a genetic bottleneck or an isolated breeding pool, you're talking about a literal lack of genetic diversity because only a tiny handful of nobles originally owned and bred them.
That's the fundamental mechanism.
How does that actually impact the dog today?
Because the original population was so incredibly small, and because the breeders were exclusively selecting for specific visual traits and that docile temperament, the gene pool was essentially closed.
Like a VIP club with no new members.
Exactly. And when you have a closed, limited gene pool over centuries, any recessive health flaws present in those original royal dogs don't get diluted out by new genetics.
They get stuck.
Worse, they get compounded. This history has led to some very well-documented inherited health considerations that are deeply woven into the breed today.
Our sources were very deliberate in saying they were saving the deep dive on specific medical conditions like heart murmurs and neurological issues for a later time.
Right. That's a whole other topic.
But the overarching theme they stressed here is crystal clear to me. Choosing this breed means you are committing to high-level, constant medical attentiveness.
That is the core takeaway of their health profile.
It's not a casual thing.
No, because this breed typically lives into its early to mid-teens. We're talking about a multi-decade commitment.
Right.
And because of that compounded genetic history, you cannot just take a reactive wait-and-see approach to their health.
You can't just hope for the best.
You cannot wait until the dog seems visibly sick, lethargic, or in pain to finally take them to the vet.
Because by then, with inherited systemic conditions, the damage is already done and it's much harder to manage.
Exactly the opposite of how you might treat a mixed breed dog, where you just go in for annual vaccines.
Right, the tough mutts.
Cavaliers require proactive, regular veterinary checkups specifically designed to monitor conditions over time. It is all about catching subtle changes and managing things early.
It sounds almost like managing a chronic human illness.
It really is. Our sources even mention modern tools like the VitalPet app, which owners use to meticulously track this intensive preventative care.
Oh, right, the app.
Yeah, logging vaccinations, scheduling specialist vet visits, tracking daily medications. It becomes a highly organized endeavor.
Though, to be clear, an app never replaces an actual hands-on veterinarian.
Of course not, never.
But the mere fact that the community recommends a dedicated digital tool just to track their health history tells you everything you need to know about the level of responsibility you are taking on.
It speaks volumes. Bringing this breed into your life requires an owner who is willing to be deeply, actively engaged in the dog's ongoing medical management for potentially 15 years.
Wow. So what does this all mean?
It's a lot to weigh.
When we take all of this incredibly detailed information, the royal history, the demanding grooming, the intense emotional needs, the genetic bottleneck, how do we synthesize this into a single reality check for someone listening who is considering getting one of these dogs?
I would summarize the entire experience of owning a Cavalier as a fair trade.
A fair trade. I like that.
The Cavalier King Charles Spaniel is quite literally a centuries-old masterpiece of companionship.
They really are.
If you bring one into your home, they will offer you incredibly gentle, intelligent, and entirely unwavering affection.
The ultimate shadow.
But in exchange for that absolute pure devotion, they demand your consistent attention, a significant portion of your daily time, rigorous grooming routines, and lifelong, proactive veterinary care.
It's a two-way street.
It is. They thrive most beautifully with people who work from home, retirees, or large families where someone is almost always physically present in the house.
It's basically a full-time relationship.
Exactly.
Understanding the history of King Charles II's favorite lapdog isn't just fun cocktail party trivia.
No, it's essential knowledge.
It is the literal biological instruction manual for living with this dog every single day. If you don't understand the history of the velvet drapes and the royal courts, you won't understand the dog staring at you from your hallway.
Their past is entirely present in their daily behavior. You simply cannot separate the two.
It really makes you think. We know these dogs were physically and emotionally engineered across centuries to perfectly fit the relaxed, highly attended, indoor lifestyle of 17th century nobility.
They were bred for palaces overflowing with servants and courtiers.
Exactly, where people were always around, knowing that if we take these aristocratic shadows with a heartbeat and we place them into the frantic, isolated 8-hour workday environments of our modern world,
It's quite a contract.
are we unfairly asking a 17th century companion to somehow survive a 21st century lifestyle?
That is the ultimate question.
Next time you see one of those massive old royal portraits, you might just look at that little silky spaniel curled up in the corner a whole lot differently. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.